Good evening. It's Wednesday in Holy Week, and we are once again in Lamentations. God is a perfect punisher. His chastisements are perfect. They achieve their end, in this case, of refining his people, of bringing them back into faithfulness with him in order that they may be restored. But he does have a rod of his wrath. And part of that is to being a derision. Um, it's really interesting. So this is the part where I kind of think it's Jeremiah really talking about. I am the man that's seen the affliction of the by the rod of his wrath. I was a derision to all my people and their song. So the me mostly talking about Judah, but also this is really entering into the story, right? I am the one. Filling me with bitterness made me drunken with wormwood. Wormwood is not good. It's pleasant. It's unpleasant. It's bitter. Gall. It's a nasty experience. Broke my teeth with gravel stones, covered me with ashes, removed my soul far off from peace. I forgot prosperity. And I said, my strength and my hope is perished from the Lord. So he's full of affliction and misery, wormwood and gall. So, golly, it's bad. Um, but they're not made extinct. So they got a bitter existence. They're suffering a lot, but those that are weeping, the lamentations, um, Jeremiah included, those that are weeping aren't dead. They aren't extinct. They're the very small remnant left from these terrible things that have come to pass for Judah. Um, Listen to this. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. So the Lord has had compassion. He's not just um, cast them away forever and ever. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. Oh, that seems familiar. Maybe we could write a song about that. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore will I hope in him. The Lord is good unto them that wait for him, to the soul that seeks him. There's this good news thing. Give me some good news, right? And in the midst of all this terrible sorrow, there is looking towards the Lord's compassion and the Lord's mercy, and um, it's good. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of the Lord. That is just as true then as it is today. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of the Lord. It is good for a man that he beareth the yoke in his youth, right? This is really interesting. You come across folks that have testimony envy, people that think if I had only lived a life of sin in my youth, I could have enjoyed all the partying and then gotten saved and then go to heaven. So I would have my cake and eat it too. But here we see it's good to bear the yoke of faithfulness to the Lord in our youth. It's true. It's true. There's a blessing to be had there. He sitteth alone and keepeth silence, because he hath borne it upon him. He putteth his mouth in the dust. If so be there may be hope. He giveth cheek to him that smiteth him. He is filled full with reproach. For the Lord will not cast off forever. So it's accepting the punishment, accepting that which was required for chastisement, which is interesting, again, considering Christ. He presents his cheek. He, even though he's sinless, he takes on the chastisement as a substitute for Israel. The chastisement of our peace is laid on him. Our iniquity is laid on him. Though he cause grief, yet will he have compassion according to the multitude of his mercies. He does not afflict willingly, nor grieve the children of men. Again, this is pointing to the chastisement being something. It's meant to correct. It's not something like, oh, I'm just a sadist and I like to mess up people. That's not true. God is having a purpose to refine his people. Now, John 16:16 to the end. A little while you see me, a little while you shall see me, and a little while you won't, because I'll be going to the Father. Or, sorry, a little while you shall not see me, and again a little while you shall see me, because I go to the Father. This is pointing to, I think, the death. The death of Christ will be gone a while in the grave, and then he comes back, and then he goes to the Father. And there's going to be sorrow for a little while and then joy. You'll weep and lament. The world will rejoice because the world thinks it's won. The sinful world thought it won by killing the Son of God. And you'll be sorrowful, but your sorrow will be turned to joy, like a woman who's gone through labor, who's travailed in her childbirth. But once the child's delivered, she remembers no more the anguish. And this kind of this Jesus coming out of the tomb, the new creation, the new son, um, this image of a new birth now. What does our new birth mean when we are in Jesus, when we are born anew? Well, coming forth into resurrected life. And we rejoice in that, and we can look towards that. And our joy is made full by that. Again, ask the Father for that resurrection. Ask the Father for that new life. And it will be given to you. He'll give it to you. And then these things have I spoken unto you in Proverbs, but the time cometh when I shall no more speak unto you in Proverbs, but I shall show you plainly of the Father. I think that's something yet to be done in a way, right? There's a lot of mysteries we don't know, but that's also something once the resurrection happens, the ascension, and so on and so forth, a lot is made more clear, and it's less weird and proverbial, right? In a way that's not immediately clear. What Jesus was saying. And actually, those more mysterious sayings now make a lot more sense when we look to the full story we're presented in the Bible. He's talking about you shall be scattered, every man to his own. There's the Zechariah promise, and shall leave me alone. They do that when Jesus is arrested in the garden. Yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. Remember that. There's bad theologies with regard to the Father abandoning the Son in some way, or Christ's deity fleeing from him, or a sundering of the Trinity. That's not what happens in the cross, even in the cry of dereliction. That's not what's being expressed there, I think. But because the Father's with him, and the Father's with us too in our suffering as his adopted children. But Jesus told them these things that you might have peace. I don't know. I guess it did. I guess they did have peace. And maybe not in those few days between Good Friday and Easter, but I think we can all have peace when we think about all that happened, and Jesus is good on the promise he made and what it achieved. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. That is true. That is true. When we see the passion and we see the resurrection, we see Christ overcoming the world through the worst thing that could, Adam. The worst. What's worse than death and that terrible way to die, and that he still overcomes, and he gives us that same grace as well, that same power. And that's something to really rejoice about, and something that I think should cause us to rest in peace tonight as we hit our bed and as we get ready to approach a new morning, even though there's a lot of worry and concern as we approach Maundy Thursday. Listen, Christ has overcome the world. Don't be afraid. Don't let your heart be troubled.